Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for being on this. When our district trainer, Dana Vogelmeyer, brought up the topic of having a master class as part of our district training, as part of what we do in district training, we all felt, gee, no one had ever really thought about that. And it's really turned out to be a spectacular part of what we do in our district. And I think the topic that Dr. Vicky's going to discuss, and the person she's brought with her are going to discuss today, is probably one of the 2 or 3 most important topics that we could be discussing at this time. Rotary itself has a task force specifically engaged in this topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I am really looking forward to it. And I want to thank everybody, all of us, all of the Rotarians from District 6690, all of those who are joining us from other districts, and all of those who are going to help Dr. Vicky in making this masterclass something really unique and interesting. I really appreciate it, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I will turn it back over to Tom, who will introduce Dr. Vicky. Thank you.
Unmute.
You're muted, Tom.
Muted, Tom.
Okay, one of my colleagues is Craig Klein from our District 6690 Peace Committee, and he has been deeply involved in Dr. Vicky's work on Sundays on a group program she does. So I'm going to defer to Craig to introduce Dr. Vicky, and then I will introduce Marcia Hunt. Okay, Craig?
Okay. So, fellow District 6690 Rotarians, honored guests from across the nation and abroad, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Vicky Riddell. She holds a PhD from the University of Los Angeles and 2 postgraduate certificates. One is in nonviolence from the Metta Center, whose founder created the first Rotary Peace Studies Department at Berkeley, and one from Harvard University in religion, conflict, and peace. She maintains a private practice in the Los Angeles area focusing on conflict prevention and resolution. Her Rotary accomplishments are equally impressive. She's the chair of the Rotary official partner Mediators Beyond Borders International, the Rotary Working Group. She is also a Los Angeles Rotary past district governor. A Rotary Champion of Peace nominee in 2018, she also sits on the Rotary Club of Redondo Beach Community Foundation. She was also the LA County Humanitarian of the Year. She teaches lay people, such as us Rotarians, how to conduct conversations on delicate topics in the community, designed to create goodwill and better understanding among those with whom one might disagree. Those sensitive discussions have included such subjects as human trafficking, immigration, community tribalism, erasing hate and fostering acceptance in the LGBTQ community, homelessness, and forgiveness. She has also led a group meditation for world peace on a program with the Dalai Lama and Nelson Mandela in Cape Town, South Africa, Parliament of the World's Religions. And she has worked with Desmond Tutu. Finally, on her second trip of escorting teens to peace missions in Hiroshima, in Japan, she decided to learn to speak Japanese as a gesture of reconciliation and friendship. Dr. Riddell identifies her major challenge today as the need to create and maintain civil rapport, urging that all voices, whether we agree or not, need to be heard to empathetically honor the dignity of all concerned. Truly embodying service above self, I give you Dr. Vicky Riddell.
Thank you, Craig. And then I want to introduce the honorary Dr. Marcia Hunt. Marcia Hunt is the past president of the Westwood Village Rotary Club in District 5280 of Los Angeles, California. She's a proud member of the Rotary Action Group for Peace and Mediators Beyond Borders, an official partner of Rotary International. She was the 2018-19 Rotarian of the Year for her Rotary Club, and she's also a dedicated mother and grandmother. As a member of Mediators Beyond Borders, Marcia has been active in projects in Los Angeles area, working on peaceful dialogues between police departments and local citizens. In 2018, Marcia was honored with an honorary doctorate from the prestigious Numba University in Kampala, Uganda. Her doctorate of letters was an honor for all her work she has done in Uganda over the past 17 years, building schools, providing for teachers, her assistance in building the Katate Medical Center near Congo border, and helping to build the economy. At the request of President Museveni of the Republic of Uganda, Marcia had a meeting with him. He was very impressed with how well the schools in the area of Kongandu and wants to emulate the success of those schools in other areas in Uganda. Marcia is in contact with friends in Uganda and her projects on a daily basis, even during COVID-19 pandemic. The children call her Dr. Marcia. Professionally, Marcia Hunt has enjoyed a great deal of success in her career as a creative writer, producer of sports special events. She has won multiple Emmys. Among her clients are Fox Sports, DirecTV, the Discovery Channel, Disney, Warner Brothers, and other companies all around the world. I highly recommend you Google and learn more about Marcia Hunt and the work she's doing with the children in Uganda. So at that, we're just thrilled to have these two prestigious Rotarians to present to us. Let me turn it over to Dana or to Dr. Vicky, whichever you'd like.
Dr. Vicky, go ahead when you're ready.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Craig. It's been such a treat to get to know you over the last year on the Sunday calls, the societal resilience calls. Thank you, Dane. It's been a pleasure working with you. And Tom, we're so happy that you're sitting upright and doing well. We love you. I have a wonderful group of facilitators with me today that I need to take time to introduce. Allison, Betty, Eileen, Estera, if she made it on the call, Jim, Leslie, Lisa, and Nancy. You have no idea how proud I am of this A team. As far as the program itself, in 2020, when Rotary came out with its official statement on zero tolerance for racism, I thought, wow, I don't want this to slide through the cracks. A program has to be developed to take it out to the clubs, to take the show on the road, to get Rotarians not only familiar with, but engaged in diversity, equity, and inclusion. That idea, coupled with the fact that I had received an email from Rotary Action Group for Peace Chair Allison, that's one of our facilitators here today, to join Chat with the Chair about a year ago, and I've been an avid participant ever since. That's where I met not only Allison, Tom, Jim, dear Craig, and reconnected with Marcia. We're in the same district. So we have a tremendous amount of information to cover today, including breakout rooms for your voices to be heard. By the end of the session, we hope you will, as Rotary International suggests, and documents which you will soon see, create an action plan to take back to your clubs to assist you to implement RI's policies on social justice, DEI, and zero tolerance for racism. Okay, it says the host has disabled participant screen sharing, and I must share my screen. So please enable.
Oh, sorry. Okay, here I come.
Okay, thank you, Dana. I knew we could do this. All right. Let me take this up to the top and.
Well, may I,
Okay.
Vicky, may I cut it and share one thing real quick? This is Tom.
Yeah.
During this process, I would like to invite people to put their contact information in the chat area, and so we can just have a sense of who you are in fellowship and maybe capture that down the road. Thank you.
Okay, and I hope you pay attention at the same time. So thank you so much. This is based on, of course, RI's vision statement. Together we see a world where people unite, take action to create lasting change, not only in our communities and ourselves, but obviously across the globe, as evidenced by the callers today. The facilitators I've introduced, and my dear co-presenter is Marcia. So I created this program based on the knowledge that Rotary cares consistently, and therefore, and the wisdom of the board creates policy based on long and standing and new governing principles as well. As evidenced by the systemic racism policy that's come out, the COVID Relief Fund, just last year, the 7th area of focus was created supporting the environment, and economic balance is addressed with every single global grant because they deal with disparity. The object of Rotary was created in 1932, around the same time as the four-way test. It set us up as a service club to serve with our professions as an opportunity through our occupations. And then also the four-way test. Frequently, clubs will begin or end their meetings by reciting the four-way test. Wow, it was created in 1932 and it still has so much validity. The ubiquitous four-way test. This takes us into a little video that I want to share that was created in around the same time that the four-way test was. And it's based on policy of social justice
I happen to know
needs.
the facts. Friends, I'm just an average man. But I'm an American. And some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil. I see people with foreign acclimony. I see Negroes holding jobs that belong to me and you. Now I ask you, if we allow this thing to go on, what's going to become of us real Americans?
I've heard this kind of talk before, but I never expected to hear it in America.
The truth about Negroes and foreigners. The truth about the Catholic Church. You'll find
You
out who
believe in
real
that kind of
Americans
talk?
are, and you'll find out who
That all makes pretty good sense to me.
And I tell you, friends, we'll never be able to call this country our own until it's a country without. Without what? Yeah, without what? Without Negroes. Without alien foreigners. Without Catholics. Without Freemasons. You know these things.
What's wrong with the Masons? I'm a Mason. Hey, that fellow's talking about me. And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
These are your enemies. These are the people who are trying to take over our country. Now you know them. You know what they stand for. And it's up to you and me to fight them. Fight them and destroy them before they destroy us. Thank you.
Before he said Masons, you were ready to agree with him. Yes, but he was talking about, what about those other people?
This could have been created in any country. It just happens to be set in the US. And the gentleman could have been talking about any country and could have been talking about Rotarians as easily as he was speaking of Freemasons.
I happen to know.
And it's because of that video, the object of Rotary and the Rotarian Code of Conduct, along with the four-way test, that I felt it's so important to gather these documents of Rotary together to show the emphasis of why the zero tolerance of racism is so important now. So the Rotarian Code of Conduct, actually elements 1 through 4, were created in 1915 after a night out drinking and partying at a Rotary convention. So elements 1 through 4 were created in 1915, so important for us to see. However, the 5th element is equally or more important because to me, it shows how Rotary stays with the issues of the time and addresses social justice as it sees the need for it. The 5th element addresses harassment-free environment. Because Rotary realized not only was harassment a reality, but bullying as well. So it also addresses bullying. And Marcia has a wonderful playground story that I'm going to have her share right now. So I'm going to stop screen sharing for a minute and let Marcia share that story.
Well, thank you, Vicki. Well, I told Vicki about, I have 3 grandchildren, and I was going to pick up the twins from school, Lily and Matthew. And the last 15 minutes at school is just them on the playground. And they were playing dodgeball, and one little girl got out of dodgeball, and she just got so furious and so mad, and she took the ball and she threw it as far across the playground as you possibly could. And a few of the kids went chasing after the ball. And Lily walked up to the little girl and she said, "Now, is that building goodwill and better friendships?" And which did my heart in, as you know, as you can guess. But I teach them the 4-way test, and they'll sit around at dinner and they might look at each other and say, "Is that the truth?" Or something like that. So they really take the 4-way test in and they use it. So I just want to reiterate, if you have little ones about you, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, you might start teaching them the 4-way test because they use it and they appreciate it. Back to you, Vicki.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcia. Yes, it's true. Harassment and bullying do not pass the 4-way test on the job, at home, in sports, in the community, when driving, or in Rotary clubs. And that's what Rotarian Code of Conduct number 5 addresses. Thank you, Marcia, for sharing that. The next video we want you to see because it connotes a life of privilege. So take a look at this.
The winner of this race will take this. It's a $100 bill. Before I say go, I'm going to make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at. Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done. Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I've said has nothing to do with what you've done. We all know these people up here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start.
But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race. You still got to run your race. But whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learn more about somebody else's story. Because the reality is, if this was a fair race and everybody was back on that line, I guarantee you some of these black dudes would smoke all of you. And it's only because you have this big of a head start that you're possibly going to win this race called life. That is a picture of life, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing you've done has put you in the league that you're in right now. When I say go, on your mark, get set, go.
Privilege is a reality, and that's why RI's Board of Directors in 2019 developed the following diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. That as a global network, we strive to build a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change. We value diversity and celebrate contributions of people of all backgrounds, regardless of age, ethnicity, color, abilities, be that physical and emotional or mental included, cultural, sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. So why is it that Rotary chose the word equity and not equality? Well, equality and the $100 race advantage moved the starting line for several of the individuals due to privilege. Equality does not always mean fair or equitable. Whereas equity provides everyone with a full range of opportunities and the benefits to achieve the same finish line. A good example is if I told everyone on this call that I'm going to give you a size 5 brand new pair of Nikes, I would imagine the majority of you would not be able to wear them. But if I gave you size appropriate pairs of brand new Nikes, they would be beneficial for you to use. Equality does not always mean fair or equitable. Here's another illustration. On the left, you see they all have the same height bolster to stand on, but still the shortest one cannot see. With equity, they can all see. Personally, I think we need to strive for liberation, which means remove the fences, because when you're liberated, I'm liberated. We need to address bias, and Rotary International realizes that as well. So what is bias? There are several forms: conscious, confirmation, and unconscious biases all exist. Conscious is intentional. We know we're being biased towards a particular person or group. Think within your own family. I know that I was told by my dad not to get off at a certain off-ramp. He was an LAPD cop, Los Angeles Police Department, and he said, don't get off at Manchester because it's unsafe. And he thought he was trying to protect me, but that was definitely bias. I now serve on 2 boards. I'm the only Caucasian on those boards, and I get off the freeway at Manchester all the time to go to board meetings. Confirmation bias is when we search for information to support prior beliefs or values. Implicit or unconscious bias means we're not even aware that those biases exist. We all have personal biases. It helps to understand the biases which you were raised with. I told you one of them that I was raised with, not to get off the Harbor Freeway at a certain place because it was unsafe. I'm sure, because we all have biases that we're raised with. Also, we may look at the same picture and see different objects. A little puppy, you might see a photo of a puppy and say, how cuddly, how adorable. I wish I could have that puppy. But I can assure you, a mother whose toddler has just been bitten by a puppy so much that it drew blood will not feel the same way when it sees that photo of a puppy. So we need to realize the prejudicial treatment of people based on race, age, or sex is absolutely discrimination. Rotary also has partnered. I like to think of Rotary as the head of a body, like the torso of a body. The head is Rotary International. The neck is the Rotary Action Group for Peace. On one arm, we have the Institute for Economics and Peace, and the other arm is Mediators Beyond Borders International. All such important entities within the first area of focus, peace and conflict resolution. Rotary's Positive Peace Academy deserves recognition here because it's the result of the historical evolution of Rotary philosophy aligned with and in concert with the Institute for Economics and Peace. It was Johan Galtung that distinguished between negative peace and positive. A lot of people think peace is just some nebulous idea that you cannot measure, and that's not true. Positive peace is absolutely measurable. It's built on sustainable investments in development and institution and societal attitudes which foster peace. And these are the areas that it can be absolutely measured in within a country. All 8 of these, they're called pillars of positive peace. The 4th one is the one in particular that addresses zero tolerance on racism and DEI. Although there's overlap in other areas, it's the one that we're highlighting today. Positive peace number 4 pillar, acceptance of the rights of others, tolerance between different ethnic, linguistic, religious, and socioeconomic groups within the country. Gender equality and workers' rights are important components of societies that uphold the acceptance of the rights of others. As a result, Rotary International just last year, and it was this statement that motivated me to put this program you're seeing today together. Last year, Rotary came out with, at Rotary, we have no tolerance, zero, zip, nada for racism, zero tolerance. We promote respect, celebrate diversity, demand ethical leadership, work tirelessly to advance peace. Those are the central tenets of our work. Yes, we have more work to do to create even more just, open, and welcoming communities. And we know there are no easy fixes, and that challenging conversations and work lie before us all. Yet Rotary's strength has long been the ability and commitment to bring people together. And we're going to tap into that strength now as we stand with those who are working for peace and justice. We'll do our part to listen, to learn, and take action to ensure that we continue to contribute to making the positive change that's needed. How does Rotary International's statement clearly reflect the Rotary's Positive Peace Academy pillar number 4? You can see for yourself. Number 4, the DEI statement, Rotary values diversity, and the statement of racism, the no tolerance for racism. You can see it time and time again, how interwoven and supportive these documents are to each other. So diversity and equity and inclusion are absolutely not political concepts. In June, I celebrate 32 years in Rotary. If it were a political organization, I wouldn't have hung in this long. It's not. It's apolitical and a-religious. All religions are welcome, and I don't care who you vote for. I care how you treat people. So DEI is consistent with and supports peace-building efforts. it also clearly passes the 4-way test. Now it's that time. It's time for breakout rooms. The facilitators are going to secure a recorder, reporter, and a timekeeper immediately in each room. All of my esteemed facilitators are listed here, and I'm going to turn it back over to Marcia again to explain how we're going to handle this.
Okay, thank you, Vicki. And we have some dialogue or breakout room ground rules. We found these to be very effective in all sorts of meetings. But first one is that everyone is an equal. Everyone in the room is an equal, whether you're the president of a company or you just started the mailroom last week. Everybody's an equal. Only one person speaks at a time, especially in our Brady Box boxes here, Brady Bunch boxes, because it can get very confusing if a lot of people start talking. And please don't speak over each other. Your facilitator will call on you individually to make comments. And speak openly and honestly. You don't have to hold back. You can speak what you're thinking at that moment in time. And listen carefully and respectfully. You'll find some very interesting comments, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen light go off in someone's eyes when they hear someone else speak, and they go, "Oh my gosh, I hadn't thought of that." You know, happens all the time. And trust that the facilitator has the best interest of the whole group, you know, in their heart as they're facilitating. And look for common ground with each other. So those are our
Thank you.
rules. Thank you, Vicki.
And thank you again, Marcia. There you go. So this is all going to prove useful in creating an environment for honest and productive dialogue for all. The breakout room questions that you're going to be addressing are, we've talked a lot about bias, because bias is the reason why Rotary created the DEI statement and the zero tolerance for racism. So what are some of your personal biases? Then what biases have you experienced personally? Or which ones have you witnessed others being subjected to? And ultimately, the reason why we're bringing this to you is we want to know if you can take this back as an action plan to help bring DEI and zero racism to your club. So I'm going to stop sharing now and allow Dana to please put us into breakout rooms. I have all 10, I thank you, Esther, for joining. I have now all 10 of my facilitators here, and you can break us up into 10 separate
What time do you
rooms.
want us back?
I would like you to have a half hour in the room, and if people get tired of talking, you all have my number to let me know, and I will ask Dana to close out the room sooner if everyone has said everything they need to say, because we will have smaller rooms with a smaller number than we had anticipated. Thank you for asking, Allison.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Vicki, for clarifying, because it looks like we might have about 3 or 4 people per room. I have opened the rooms and they're labeled by the first name of the facilitators. So if you see your name, facilitators, go ahead and grab your room and enter. For everybody else who's not a facilitator, you can enter any one of the rooms. And if you have trouble, let me know and I can assign you, but I'm gonna ask you to kind of hang tight for just a second. We'll let the people who can get in, go ahead and get in. And then,
Okay, and Dana, my question is, can you make sure that there are an even number of participants in each room? For example, if 5 people go to one room and no one has participants in their room, would you please move people?
I sure will.
Thank you,
And
dear.
I'll tell you, for those of you who are not facilitators, if you see your name appear, then you can just hover over your name and go to a room. If you can't figure it out, don't worry, I will get you there.
And Dana, this is Tom. How much time do you need after we come back from breakout? Because I think we have a hard stop at quarter after the hour.
Yes, we do have a hard stop at 6:15, so I'll
Eastern.
leave Dr. Vicky.
Yeah, I think because we don't have as many people as we anticipated, probably 20 minutes in the breakout room.
Mhm.
And if we only need 15, we can start the reporting out sooner because a reporter will be assigned by the facilitator. And then I would like to have someone report out from each room on something beneficial that transpired. So,
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start doing some assigning.
yes,
Okay.
definitely. And then hold them in there for 20 minutes because the groups will be smaller.
Okay. If you see your name and you can take yourself somewhere, that's certainly okay. If not, I'll make sure you get there.
So as a facilitator, we do nothing?
You need to pick your own room, Jim. So if you, do you see your name popped up there as an option?
I do not.
I do not either.
Okay, I'll come back to you, okay? I'm going to move some people around for a minute.
Gail, do you see your name?
Just in the box, I don't see my name. Are we supposed to click on the pictures that were of our boxes?
I didn't set it up. I don't know how she's doing it, but
Yeah, so you should see like a box, a rectangle box. And if you see your name,
Yes.
just hover your mouse over it. And does it give you an option to join?
No.
Okay, so
Yes.
who was that just said that? Was that Gail?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay,
I've got three little dots at the
okay,
top.
well, you need
I'm
to
gonna
be
move you,
moved out,
Gail.
So go back, leave that room and go back to the
Okay,
main room
now I can do
and
it.
let Allison stay there. She's just assigning people now. Okay, bye. And Dana, Nancy Weisel just called me and said that she was put in the same room with Allison and they're both facilitators. So I told her to go back to the main room and you would reassign her.
okay. I sure will.
Also, there was only one other person in the room with Allison besides me.
I think it's because Dana is still
Mhm.
working on sending people.
Okay.
And Dana, this is Tom. I'm not assigned to a room yet.
Okay. I've got several people who aren't, so hang with
Okay.
me.
Not a problem.
So who's a facilitator that has not yet gone to their room? Jim, right?
Correct. Jim, Nancy, Craig. Looks like Craig's still, Dana.
Okay. So Craig should be gone now,
Okay,
but I
yes.
still see, so Jessica, I'm going to assign you to a room. Price, I'm going to assign you to a room. Mike Knoll. And it looks to me like all I have unassigned at this point on my end are Dr. Vicky and Marcia. So if
Good.
you are,
Oh, no, Nancy, you still have Nancy too. Nancy's at the center table.
I was
So
put in a room
Nancy-
with Leslie.
who was that shared that, Craig?
That was Craig, yeah.
Okay, hang with me for just a minute.
If
Do I
there's
have-
not- If there's not enough rooms, I'll just go into a room that has a facilitator.
Nancy needs to be assigned to a room without another facilitator if possible. Nancy and Craig both.
If I put Nancy in your room, Nancy, there's no people in there.
Well,
I'm
then
gonna,
go ahead and put her in another room and she can participate. How many people are in each room, Dana?
Well, Gail just has 3 other people in hers. Gail Glazer.
That's fine. That's okay if she has 3. And then there's Craig.
I'm showing Gail with 5.
Are you?
Uh-huh.
She has 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry. So now I see, I'm trying to and Craig, you're still
Yeah.
with us in the main room, right?
I am.
Looks like Nancy's back to the main room. Hmm.
So Nancy, I apologize. I think because there were 2 Nancys. I think I did something wrong there. That was my error. I apologize. There are a couple of big rooms.
Are there any rooms now without facilitators?
Yes. Allison's room. So I must have Allison somewhere else. Do you guys see Allison? Oh, sorry. She is in with Eileen. I just
Yeah, in
moved-
Allison's room, there's just David Coing and Price Finley.
So I just moved Allison there. Craig,
Oh.
I'm having trouble finding you.
Craig is on the screen.
I'm looking, I'm in the main screen now.
Craig Klein.
I see your picture, Craig. I just don't see your name appearing on my end of
I
the
see him.
box.
He has not joined his own room.
I was, but I went out because Leslie was there, and
Oh,
when I joined the room, Leslie was already organizing the people,
Okay.
so I let her go.
Okay, so so she's in your room. So I'm sorry, she got in your room. I'm gonna try not to move anybody there. Can I move you, Craig, just to another room? I'm sorry that this did not pan out, Dr. Vicky, the way I had anticipated. I thought I would have more people who could move themselves.
No
So I
worries.
apologize.
Life is like that. Just go ahead and put
Put me
Craig
wherever.
and Nancy in whichever rooms that or have the fewest people in them.
Okay, so Craig, you should get a pop-up on your screen
Okay,
sending you to a room with Allison and also
Okay.
David and Price.
all
And
right.
then Nancy, do you see a pop-up on your screen?
Nancy Weissel.
Not yet.
No,
Do all of the rooms have facilitators now? That's the only question I have. Otherwise, I can go to any room and just listen.
Yeah, I believe they do. And I'm sorry, you guys. It just left my screen because we've already been gone for 10 minutes.
I know, I'm
So-
trying, and if I could do it, but I can't because I'm not the host.
So Nancy, you should get a pop-up sending you to the same room that Allison is in, group number 1. And Craig, you should have a pop-up. Do you see anything? I always call it kind of behind your Zoom picture. Like if you
Behind.
were to move your Zoom screen, do you see it pop up behind it?
let me see. Hold on.
It's showing that I've moved you, just that you have not yet joined.
I don't see anything that you're describing right now.
Okay, down at the bottom where your toolbar is, and
Uh-huh.
it says mute video, do you see anything that has one of the red message symbols?
Only leave.
Leave, okay. How about up at the top? Do you have anything?
The only red thing at the top is recording.
Where is your toolbar where you see mute start video? Is that at the bottom?
The start and stop video, that's at the bottom. Along with 3 little dots that say more. Let me try join breakout room.
There you go. Yay.
Okay. But it's blue.
See you
Bye.
soon, Craig.
I'm going to visit Allison now. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, and apologies that I took so long to get the groups together, those things happen. So, let's see, whose room? Betty, do you have someone in your room that you'd like to have report? Who was your reporter?
Absolutely. Our
Randall?
Yep.
Randall.
Okay, Randall, go ahead. Just take
So-
1 minute. Do it
So
quickly.
it was interesting. The question we addressed was really the bias that you may have experienced or witnessed. And one of the group talked about religious bias at work in the work environment, also biased by the way that you speak and the way you look. One person talked about that they'd seen bias of a lot of types. One of the things that was interesting was that if you were a person of color in a Rotary group, should you or should you not be the resident Black person, the go-to person for everything racial? That Rotary was really about giving back and helping out, and that racism, I think the interpretation was that racism shouldn't be part of that, but I think we have to identify and deal with the equity, diversity, and inclusion issue. One person talked about the issues of LGBTQ, or two of us did, and that the witness of that type of bias in the community. And we were just starting to talk about action plans for DEI and zero racism when we got called back from the void.
Hey, well, you still have thoughts to take back with you on those ideas. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Estera, did the recorder from your room?
So we're kind of just starting to talk about kind of the deeper issues around biases. We talked a little bit about politics and how to get along with our family members.
Were you the reporter from the room, or was there one assigned?
We didn't have a reporter yet. We're mostly starting to get into it. So
Okay.
I'm just giving a quick
Okay,
debrief.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. But I'll ask Mike actually to help me if you'd like, or Joe, and anything else I might have missed, because I got locked out for a quick second and came right back. But yeah, we're basically just starting to talk about biases, and we're starting to talk about cancel culture and how that's really affected how we really deal with race, right? When someone has said something even 20 years ago, we want to cancel them out and not give people an opportunity to really regain themselves or find out how they learn from their biases. So we're starting to talk about that. And then, yeah, that was mostly what we got to. We're getting deeper into it now.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike or Joe or anyone else from our team do you have anything else to share that I might have missed?
No, I don't think we didn't really delve into it that far, so we just got to know each other a little better.
Well, you know what? That's a good beginning, and you can't fault that ever, ever. Thank you so much. Jim, how about in your room? Halderman, you're on mute.
We had a great gathering. Michelle was our scribe. So Michelle, do you want to share?
Sure. So we didn't get to the third question either, but we talked about the personal biases and what we've experienced or witnessed. So some of the things that came up were political biases, bias of color. So how you feel, even as a white Caucasian living in what you thought was a minority, where you're the majority, taking it for granted all your life, but then realizing in certain circumstances you're actually the minority. The things that we were ingrained as children regarding color, the biases of color or of clothing and attire. So how we're treated based on what we're wearing, or if it's a younger person wearing the pants that are halfway down with no belt and whatnot. So looking at all of the different ways that we have biases around our looks, our attire. And then regarding experiencing or seeing, having to do with, as women, how you are treated when you're purchasing things or when you're trying to pay bills, LGBTQ.
I know.
Wow, there's a lot of letters. So we just talked about all of those different things, and it was, I think, kind of an eye-opening of how much we do really have biases.
That's what it's intended to be, Michelle. Thank you.
We
Thank
left
you.
off the kale bias.
Oh, the kale, yes. I think you were the only one.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Jim. And Gail, how about your room?
Yes, what a wonderful group we had. Terrific. And Christina, I'm sorry, Marty is our reporter and she's agreed to share out.
Okay, please.
My condensing skills here. First of all, we found there's a whole new bias for us today, and that is people who don't wear masks. Absolutely. And we shared the fact that we were 4 white women about, I say, within a 20-year age group. And similar to what the last group says, the first time we were the minority was rather eye-opening. It's like, oh, so this is what it's like. And if somebody was critical of us, it's like, oh, I kind of understand a little more. We talked about how there's a difference between being biased about somebody because the visual, the race, the size, the gender, and also having little biases because of cultural difference. And sometimes that's legitimate. And sometimes you can work through that, because if you're from different cultures, you know, you don't necessarily know where the other person's coming from. We came up with some conclusions. It was a great group. It was a really great group. And one is, the first thing that was said was, our action plan is to take this conversation to our clubs, have a facilitator who do this and not, you know, get all weird about it, and take it to our clubs. And the second thing is, even this awareness, even this one little meeting has opened our eyes, and that's something we can take forth. And the third thing is, talk to each other. Just talk to people respectfully, privately, have conversations. And that's what we did.
Wonderful, Marty. Thank you so much. You're the epitome of a good reporter. Thank you. Nancy Weissel, were you in a room finally?
I was in the room with Allison, and I know, but
okay.
I entered a little bit later. Allison was started before me, so we may want to let her.
Yes, I will, definitely. I wasn't sure which room you went to. Allison, do you have a reporter
Vicky,
recording?
a big thank you to Nancy Welzout and Craig, because they were both in the room with me. And Price will report for us, please.
We had such a great breakout room. We had 3 facilitators. That's how powerful we were today.
Wow.
So.
Lucky you, Price.
Oh, absolutely. Apparently the universe is telling me that I need extra attention to my biases. But we had a really good discussion. And of course we all have biases. And we also wanted to define what that means initially to have a bias. And I think there was general consensus that it may be that first reaction that you have, that you may be able to transcend that as you process and think about whether your reaction is warranted or not. But that maybe that first reaction is the unconscious bias we bring to a situation. And we had lots of great shares about the kinds of things that we're biased about. It could be language, it could be clothing, it could be time of day, and whether you're walking down a street that maybe and people that you don't know are walking toward you, and that makes you feel nervous, unsafe. One shared that a bias about anyone who's carrying a firearm, whether it's an open carry or whether that's a concealed firearm. We're a big Second Amendment country, but that causes a lot of people to have, anxiety around that. And so, again, really lots of different biases. And then some of the conversation, and quite frankly, we didn't get too far along with that, but it was moving toward, I think, trying to bring programs like this to the club level, And a couple of things that were shared. One is to make sure that in these presentations, in these programs, that we always incorporate these breakout discussions, because that's where people can be more open to sharing how they are feeling.
Absolutely.
You know, and so
Yes.
that's a really powerful tool, I think. And so maybe even as we may look in the future toward being in person, being mindful of creating situations where we do have those small groups. That
Yes.
was one of the things that came out of that.
Absolutely. That program that I helped create, Peace Conversation Facilitators, does exactly that, training people to then be able to facilitate in small groups. Eileen, how about your group?
Thank you, Vicki. So I had a lovely group with Joe and Don and John, and I just have to say, we started out by talking about, what did you hope to get out of today's session? And I was so touched by all three of their sincere desire to just learn more, to, they were completely open to, I don't know much about this, I need to learn more, I know I have to be, I have to be a part of this conversation. And I know that feeling is the same as all of you, all 50 plus of you who signed up to take an hour and a half out of your day today to come to this training. And so I'm honored to be a part of it. And I just want to give you all a shout out for taking the time and saying this is a really serious and important topic, and so part of who we are as Rotarians. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dawn, who very graciously got cajoled into being the recorder and the reporter.
Okay, Dawn, if you could please, because we only have 5 minutes left, if you could just take a minute, and then Leslie, I think you're the last one to have report, and then I'll close it out. Go ahead, John.
Each one of the members of the panel had a bias towards something. And one of the people, the father, an older father, was biased in racial, and he had a difficult time dealing with that, a little friction between the two. But I guess they must have worked it out because he didn't get a chance to finish. Another one was person grew up in an area of privilege and didn't realize, I guess, that the person was in an area of privilege until she moved outside that area. And then when she tried to discuss the problems, she got shut down and didn't like that experience. And then I was in the military for a long time, and my bias was I couldn't have any, because if you're a leader and you're out front of your men and women, you don't want to look behind you and not find anybody there. So you have to take care of your people and treat them right. And
Absolutely. What a lesson for life that is.
well, my personal bias is that in Rotary is that Rotarians volunteering to do something and not doing it and letting it go. That's a big bias with me. If you say you're going to do something, you do it or get the heck out of the club. And that's me.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. Okay, we have Leslie and then Lisa. So let's make it real quick. Leslie, unmute. Honey, we can't hear you.
I knew I had to do that. I just wanted to say I really appreciated the candor and authenticity of everyone who was in our group. I believe Joe was our reporter, so I won't.
Yeah, so thank you,
Go
Leslie.
ahead.
We touched on a lot of the things that all the other groups did. I think one of the big things that we noticed was more racial bias and socioeconomic bias. And similar to what Price had said earlier about I think it was Price walking down the street and then all of a sudden crossing the street because a certain gentleman, or whether a certain sex or a certain ethnicity was walking, so you cross the street to be more careful or to be out of harm's way. In healthcare, just some people needing more things than other people, and still wanting to give the service, but understanding or knowing that maybe there might be more to it or something hidden behind it. but yeah, I mean, racial bias coming from a rural setting and going to an urban community and knowing that you can no longer just keep your doors open, that you have to lock your doors at night, and, you know, reading about people, you know, rummaging through people's cars in the middle of the night, that, you know, making sure that people are keeping their doors locked. You know, just those things, and, you know, trying to get a job when you have when you don't look like the ideal candidate, when you have tattoos, when you have hair that's not quite right, or you're dressed a certain way for an interview, and immediately having your application thrown away. You know, those are some of the things that we've observed over time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe, for sharing that. These certainly, I love how rich the conversation was about bias, just as we were hoping it would be. Lisa, how about your group?
I had a really lovely, very candid, honest group, which I appreciated. I know time is short, so I've asked Dennis from my group to provide a couple of highlights that I thought were very positive that came out of the group discussion. So Dennis, if you could share.
Thank you, Lisa. I think one is action. And the thing is, what's the purpose of the program? Why? And what are our goals? What changes do we want to see? And what do we want to change? Do we want to change people in our Rotary Club, in our community, in our nation? So, and also in making change, there's about 8 pillars of peace. Yes, the acceptance rights of others is important, but also equitable distribution of resources.
Yes.
Because one of the things that causes inequity, and part of the problem, is that the budgets and where they go. So do we Rotarians get involved in such matters? Also the fact that, one of the things, it's also the high level of human capital, which is really based, some of it is education and things. And we know that there's inequity in education. So how do we get involved with that? So that was one of the things, I think, understanding in order to take action, what's our goals and who are we trying to affect, and also the idea of change. On the other side, I had a personal thing as far as biases, and I found it to be positive. But my biases were positive in different ways, because I was very fortunate to grow up in Hawaii. So with all the different cultures and everything else, and I know I'm Chinese, and I still believe in things Chinese. My friends are Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, whatever it is, and everybody recognized who they were, and we accepted it. And we also, so we cherished some of the differences to who we were. And so I think it's one of the things, curiosity of what other people are, and coming to the mainland, they got to meet the Irish, the Jewish, and everybody else. So I think it's hopefully America is a melting pot where people can recognize their differences. At the same time, we're all American.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Dennis. And we need to wrap it up now. The reality is there was recently a study that was done at Stanford about how when we get out into a more diverse culture, they studied 50 states and found that the greater diversity within the state, the greater tolerance people have for the other, so to speak. So why do we dialogue? To honor the dignity of all voices, whether we agree or not, and to reach a better understanding to benefit interpersonal rapport, not only in our club, but at home, at work, and every place. We need to listen. What does RI suggest your club can do? Well, what you did today, you're dialoguing, and you need to take that to your clubs. Also talk about this, creating a member diversity and inclusion action plan, and encourage and support people that are underrepresented to take on leadership positions and to join your club. I found out recently that the area that I live in is 42% Asian, yet we have one Asian in a club of 60 people. However, there are also only 32% Caucasian in the South Bay. So we definitely need to look at what we can do. And what does RI also encourage you to do, and what we encourage you today is take it home. How best can you bring these statements that I've shared today on DEI and inclusion and zero tolerance from racism into your club? So thank you so much for inviting us. And does anyone else have any questions? I know we're 2 minutes past the 3:15, but Dana said she would let us just roll with it. Does anyone have a question?
Let me make a comment first. This is Tom.
Yeah,
Dana-
Tom,
Dana
welcome
just-
back.
Thank you. Dana just sent me a text and I said, yes. She needed to drop off to go
Yes,
to
I know.
another event, but
Mhm.
I am now the host and we can stay open for more discussion and I'll just, as long as we can stay on. So for those that are interested, I would think we can go another 10, 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, except I have another meeting to
Yep.
run.
Got
So,
it. Okay.
yeah, let's go for
Okay.
10.
Let me just
Sure.
share also, if you don't mind, while I got my mic on. I put in the chat, express my gratitude to you, Vicky, and also Marcia, and what an amazing team of breakout facilitators. So grateful for that. I also want to recognize that our district governor, Steve Heiser from 6690, you heard it, but we also have our governor-elect, Mary Jane Shackelford, on the call, and our district governor nominee, Price Finley, on the call. And we are deeply dedicated in leadership to this topic in our district. And we also have Dennis Wong, co-founder of Rotary Action Group for Peace, and Allison Sutherland, the board chair. And I want you to learn about Chat with the Chair. Come on tomorrow night. We can all be doing fellowship more. That's what I wanted to share. And let me turn it back to you, Vicki.
That's beautiful, Tom. Thank you so much. And I'm grateful to Allison for sending out that email a year ago saying, would anyone like to join the Chat with the Chair? Being a therapist myself and seeing how so many of my clients were going into COVID meltdown, I decided, hey, I could use a little TLC. I think I'll come on this Chat with the Chair. And I had the wonderful opportunity to bond with Tom, George. I see George on the call, Gary, just so many wonderful people that we meet through Rotary, through the Brothers Sisterhood of Rotary, that it's phenomenal. So thank you. Is there any particular question about the program? And is CK on the call?
I did not see him registered, but he's from our Columbus Rotary. And I'll just speak briefly that our Columbus Rotary about 5 months ago started a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force. We're building slowly with it. We've got a core group of about 6 people on the task force, and we are presenting our suggested action plan to our board this spring here in the next month. Okay, so
Wonderful.
if we can share how we're doing it, I'd love to continue on. And that's how we're learning from each other. Okay.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you again.
Marsha, I'm sorry, Vicky.
Yes.
I would add that quite often when we work together, we recognize that we have different cultures. There's the States and I'm in Wales and England is different. But what I'm loving about this is I think it will reach across all cultures because the questions are so open, they can be filled in by that culture and tradition. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison. I actually created the questions with that in mind. There is a different DEI program that my district puts forth with 3 other speakers in addition to myself. I like these questions better. That's why we're doing this, because of exactly what you're saying, that they really do go cross-culturally so beautifully. Thank you. Allison, you're a blessing to all of us. And so I want to just thank Tom again and Dana, 6690. You guys are wonderful. You're doing so much good. Nancy Warren, hi. Good to see you from Georgia, Florida. It's wonderful to see names that David Pritchard, other people that I recognize from Mediators Beyond Borders International or Rotary Action Group for Peace. We're all in the peace field. We're all together. We're all brothers and sisters. And I absolutely must end with a heartfelt thank you to this wonderful team of 10 facilitators.
And may
love
I end with
I
something
love
that
you.
our group loved? Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with each one of us. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you, all of you, for attending. And if you have any questions about the program or anything that I can do for you, I will be happy to share. Looks like it's not letting me write in. Let me see if I can. I'll put my email address in the chat box, and we are available to speak to your club on DEI if we can fit it into our program
Do you
calendar.
have anyone who knows how to copy or save the chats? Because there's been lots of information shared, but I'm not sure how to capture that.
I'm not the host, I'm the co-host. Tom would have to do that, or
It
he
will be
would have to
captured.
ask.
You know what? If I could interrupt.
Captured with the recording.
Yeah, go ahead. It should be in the recording.
To where you write things in. I'm on a Mac. I'm not sure what everybody else is on, but where it says to everyone, and then you'll see on the right 3 little dots. You see those down there? And then it says post only. Oh my God, it's not doing this one.
But you know another way, Price, is the way that I do it.
Save the chat, but it's not doing that now. Sorry.
Use your phone and just take the pictures down the chat box. So I always use my phone when there's something comes up.
And this is Tom. I want you to know I have been taking photos of them. Okay, so I can capture them that way. If you would be open to it, we'd love to have you learn more about the masterclass series as it continues monthly with 6690. But also, if you're interested in learning about the chat with the chair, there's one tomorrow night on building peace builder clubs and whatever. But if you'd like more information about choices, we can maybe send out an invitation to you through your emails. If you don't want to join, just don't join. Thank
And
you.
it looks like Leslie just posted, perhaps, is that the chat that you just posted, Leslie? Looks like it could be, I'm not sure, but okay, does anyone else have questions? Otherwise, I have another meeting to run.
Okay.
Vicki and Marcia, my son lives in Los Angeles. I want him to meet you.
Oh, sure. We're open for it. Now you've got email addresses and you can always reach us through Tom or through Dana. Thank you so very much, everyone.
Blessings to all.
You too.
Okay, thank you
Peace
so
out.
much.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. I love my facilitators. You're
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom,
Randall
good to
and
see you.
Diane.
Thank you.
You're looking
And
good, Tom.
Denise,
Appreciate it, David.
I miss Denise.
Bye.
Marcia, I'm gonna call you.
Okay.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Bye, Randall.
And I'm going to go ahead and close out here. And I think we got everybody. Joe and Fran, great to see you. Okay, lovely. Looking forward to continuing building here as we go. Okay. Marcia, thanks again. Okay, take care.